So your commanders were talking about how they tortured prisoners and raped civilians?
Yes. Will you go to the special military operation? I said, no, I'd go to prison. He says, no, you'll go to the special military operation.
And he just takes and removes them like that, bluntly. I write to him, why are you doing this? Why are you exposing yourself? And he just writes back here, they're dumb. The situation was such that due to his actions, their battalions were depleted. Yes, why wasn't there food?
Because the walkers were being killed.
Basically, he writes to me, can we not kill the walkers? I say, what's going on? He says, we're starving.
So our man is suffering from our own actions?
And this? Oh, this is a cool photo, by the way. By the way, yes, this is Atlant.
Yeah, and these are his classmates?
Citizens of the Russian Federation.
I see, our Ryazan guys.
Ryazan?
Of course.
In the end, instead of 13 kilometers, I walked through all the minefields there.
Checking if everything was in place.
I walked 20 kilometers in 8 hours, all in all. I arrived in Mirnograd and the scouts picked me up. And there stood an Azov member saying, I'll give 20,000 hryvnias to take him out right here.
What did you feel when you realized you were being greeted normally?
I was really surprised why I was traveling in handcuffs.
That's such an epic fail. There's gonna be a photo here where he's sitting like this in handcuffs. 2 MLRS Type 3 tanks, this North Korean junk, 4 UAV teams, 4 mortar teams. Overall 150 to 200, 50 to 300, plus our soldiers who were saved when he gave the coordinates of incoming fire, and their intelligence chief moved them, our teams.
Friends RDK, dreams come true. Direct evidence.
So, esteemed guests, as per tradition, we have a segment you enjoy. Let's say there are 2 citizens of Russia and myself, and we share a microphone with the RDK commander, Denis. Today, we have a very interesting and cool story that I wouldn't say is rare, but publicly, this will be the second one. Considering that Denis has constantly complained about me coming and looting. Today, for the first time, I must point out, I came to the RDK with a hookup. The gift is from the Svetovid Foundation. Honestly, it's like wringing it out of my heart. I would have kept it for myself.
But you have no heart.
No brains and no heart. In short, a tactical tablet, as you call it. Armor-plated?
Yes, heavy and reliable.
Do they issue such things in the Russian army?
Thank you very much, friends.
If the ammo runs out, you can go and just bash with it.
Yes, or fend off.
Maybe you don't need it?
We'll sort it out, we'll sort it out.
I'll find the Elfin Quest useful.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm trading it for a flag.
Oh, come on.
With a signature.
Friends.
This wasn't planned. I just saw it lying there.
As always, lies poorly, as Dmytro says when he enters my office.
Not poorly, but poorly made.
Poorly made.
Can I grab this too?
Yes, it's not necessary.
Right here, please.
Well, later. Off camera?
In short, I'm leaving with the flag today, no matter what.
Thank you very much, friends. And, of course, thank you, Dmytro. This and the other 10 vehicles were given by Dmytro to the Russian Volunteer Corps. I don't see the vehicles yet.
He handed over this little flag.
Флажок.
So what? Honestly speaking, today's story will be really cool. As I mentioned, there aren't many such stories publicly. I don't even know. Where to start? Introduce yourself first to the broken Samsung camera.
This is confidential information. You don't need it.
Born in 2006, how old are you now exactly?
19 years old. Doesn't matter.
Yes. 2006 birth year. But this guy has already achieved a lot in his life. Well, actually, You'll hear and understand. As always, the script is super. Preparation is fantastic. We're following the script. What he did already deserves significant attention and automatically nullifies any checks or rechecks because he went through verification for 80 days.
Nevertheless, despite the heroic deeds and heroic behavior of our current serviceman, our current volunteer, without a hint of irony, our standard technical checks are still mandatory, as well as interviews, psychological tests, and everything we consider essential for joining the Russian military corps. Such checks are mandatory for us.
Besides polygraph testing, a person is checked against various records, databases, and registries. And also, it's verified that it's comprehensive. The comprehensive check is conducted by special people who are experts in this. Artyom contacted, I want to live around mid-November 2025. He declared that he wants to surrender and be taken prisoner. In doing so, he declared his desire to work and provide assistance. Since I Want to Live is a government humanitarian project, they said, here's Dmitry, write to him. As you know, I have a program called Money from Apostol Artyom. Artyom wasn't interested in the money, and we started working together, right? Yes, let's probably start then. You'll find out everything a bit later. Tell us about yourself. Born, baptized, married.
I was born in the city of Novosibirsk in 2006, then kindergarten, school, everything as usual. I finished 9 grades, then went to study at the law faculty.
Wait, how did you finish school? Good, bad?
Well, 3 to 4, normal.
Did you follow the standards?
Yes. After that I entered the law faculty.
Wait, do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have older brothers.
Do you know your autobiography?
Family. Well, mom, dad, I have an older brother.
So you have a complete family?
I have a complete family, yes.
Everything okay?
Normal, good.
What does your family do for a living?
Dad works as a truck driver, transporting goods. Mom is a housewife. My brother works as a programmer. Okay, we've covered the family.
Complete family, Novosibirsk, normal life, normal school. Any remarkable episode from your childhood that characterizes you as a good guy from a good family?
I didn't let anyone steal among my acquaintances.
Steal? Steal what?
Well, from stores, for example.
So you were the guy who said, no, you shouldn't do that.
Is it like a tradition to steal from stores?
Maybe, yeah, that's how it's said in Russia.
Wait, what does that mean? Because I was there a long time ago.
Zastikovano.
Yes.
This means it's customary.
Accepted, yes.
The state of affairs in 2025?
I don't know a single person in my circle who hasn't stolen from
Where do
stores.
people usually steal from stores?
Anything and everything.
No one steals butter?
No, nobody steals butter.
I don't get it. All your...
Food products, yes, but the goal isn't because there's nothing to eat, it's to sell them later. And that's how they made money, yes.
Oh, really?
Country of talents and opportunities, business Russian style. Wait, do I understand correctly? That it's considered normal to steal something to sell later?
Yes.
Not bad. What do you do with those who get caught? And do people actually get caught?
First time, a fine.
And the second time?
The second time, they look at how old you are. If you're a minor, you'll get a suspended sentence. But if you're an adult, over 18, they can convict you under 158.
Has anyone you know ever gotten caught?
No.
And suspended sentence?
Got a suspended sentence. 1, 2, at most 3.
Do they often get caught?
Yes.
They often get caught.
Is it a trend, a pastime? Why is it like this?
To make money.
Is this a way to make money?
Yes, it's a way to make money.
How much can you make?
Well, for example, I had a friend who would go into a store, steal coffee, Arabica in a glass jar, you know. And he'd sell it while we were traveling from one shore to the other. He'd sell it quickly, 2,000 to 3,000 in just half an hour.
That's enough to get by.
Where did he sell it?
He'd go up to people right on the bus, like, want some coffee? Need coffee?
You mean he just stole it? In a stick, right?
No, in a glass jar.
He would just offer it. How much did it cost in the store?
150 rubles. And he sold it for 100 each.
How much do you need to steal?
10 at one store, then 15 at another. And however much that makes,
Did he ever get caught?
no, he actually never got caught.
So it's not just bravado, it's a way for a young person in Novosibirsk to earn money?
Well, it's one of the ways.
What other ways are there to earn money for pocket expenses?
You can deal with cards.
What does that mean?
Hacker? No, it's when you find someone, a sucker, and make a card in their name, then give the card to someone who knows what they're doing.
Not to a sucker?
Not to a sucker, yes, and money is run through them, so the money appears as legitimate, like business transactions.
Were you the organizer?
No, I wasn't.
Were you the sucker?
I wasn't.
The most important thing.
Were you the one buying the dropped cards?
He said he was the good guy who stopped people from doing illegal activities. Guys like this joined the Russian Volunteer Corps. Good guys from Novosibirsk, and not only from there.
And that's it, the dirty, clean money was run through the cards, then the cash handlers would withdraw it. It's all a cycle. So, for fairness, one time I stole a card from someone because it was necessary.
Well, if it's needed, it's needed.
Such people get jobs in the service at RDK.
Once doesn't count.
Once, as we found out,
In short, we were discussing.
in Novosibirsk you can do it twice.
We were discussing a story, but maybe we shouldn't spoil it.
No, we won't discuss it anymore.
But it turns out for native Muscovites, it's
Permissible? Engaging in gardening.
once. You're talking about karting, of course.
Are you talking about carding?
Okay, so how's it going with sports?
I did Thai boxing, swimming, and regular boxing.
Until I was 16. Wait, you're just quickly listing things. Thai boxing, that's the one where you can use your legs.
Yeah, you can use legs, elbows, and knees. Regular boxing, where you can only use your hands.
What else?
Swimming?
There, you can use both legs and hands.
Where have you had the most success?
In boxing. In Thai,
How many Thai boxing matches have you had?
including competitions, about 30.
Wins, losses?
About 60 to 40. Maybe even 70 to 30 wins.
Last time you said 70, so it makes sense.
We'll look up the information and find out. Your most memorable fight?
When I caught him with my knee as he was going low.
Was this at the very start of the fight?
Yes.
How long did that fight last?
Less than a minute.
Bang, and he's knocked out. Your most disappointing loss?
That was when I broke my knuckle. There was a back fist. Well, not a back fist, but I misjudged it and broke my hand.
I see. Titles, accolades.
No, I did Thai boxing more for myself.
But if you competed, you must have.
Oh, well, I have medals. Yeah, first and second places.
Were you a regional, district, or local champion?
Wait, first and second place in what?
Well, I was at the World Championship in St. Petersburg.
Didn't understand.
So,
World Championship?
Yeah, in St. Petersburg. How was it a World Championship?
I'm from the neighboring yard. In the scope of Russia, it's basically a world championship.
A few tough guys showed up, a few black guys.
Quiet. It's fine. We don't approve of those words.
what's the scientific term for that?
A couple of guys from Moldova, and now it's a World Championship.
And so it became an international
And so it became-
championship.
And how many participants were there?
About 60 probably, in different weight categories.
And when was this?
No, it was around 20 to 21 years. Okay,
Was this before the full-scale one?
yes, it was before the full-scale one.
How did that tournament end for you?
Promised.
We have a medalist from the international championship, but it's the world
Let's
championship.
move on. To swimming.
I did swimming until I was about 12. Even up to 14, I was swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I have a second adult category there. That's it, nothing more. I can swim and won't drown.
Okay, good. What, where, when did you play? Now let's move on to my topic.
Yes. Where you have the best chances. You could say 3 to 4 in school. If it's 3 to 4, then maybe not great.
Okay, what's your favorite subject?
Physical education.
Not humanitarian, PE,
Russian.
Russian language. Good. All right, let's go. You studied. What year did you finish? School.
In 2021.
In 2021, 9th grade.
Yes.
What happened next?
I took a year off, didn't study anywhere.
Tired.
And then I enrolled in law at the Faculty of Law. We have the Siberian State University.
What major?
Lawyer major.
How long did you study there?
A year.
What went wrong or what went right?
Things went wrong when, even though I was studying, like, I got drafted for mandatory military service, like, not mobilized service, 1 month. So I thought, well, I'll go and serve a year now, so I won't have to later, because in Russia, the draft age was raised over 30. I thought, well, let's get it over with, so I won't have to go to the army at 25. And so I ended up in the army.
Wait, once more. You were a student. You made the decision to go serve?
Yes, I made the decision myself.
I don't understand. Why didn't you continue studying?
Because they didn't give me a deferment. That's another reason why I went.
That's what I remember. So, in fact, it wasn't you who decided to go. You were forced.
Well, they drafted you.
No, not drafted, for mandatory service.
Well, they created conditions.
You're studying
for
at
mandatory
university,
service,
and what? You get a draft notice.
A draft notice, yes.
even though you're a student.
Even though I'm a student, yes.
I would say they drafted you just in a very clever way.
I could just ignore this summons, because for conscripts, it's not like for those mobilized. They would just send me a summons every year, and that's it.
Well, yes, but you'd be easy to find, knowing your university and address.
Wait, we need to sort this out. Were you studying full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
No way, that can't be. Like, from full-time.
What's that called? Full-time?
Full-time, yes.
Full-time means you're in the hospital. Well, I don't know, that's how it is in Russia. It doesn't matter.
Full-time, part-time. In person is slightly different.
That's your professional deformation? Yeah.
Wait, as a full-time student, can they take you to serve in the army?
Well, not everywhere, but in some universities, yes.
To avoid being taken, the dean's office should probably have given you some kind of...
A deferment, yes.
Did they give it to you?
No.
Did you go and ask? Yes. So what did they say to you? You come in and say, I'm a student.
Later.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Are there many like you who went?
Yes.
This is what's widespread now. In what year was this?
In 2022.
In 2022?
In 2022, yes.
This is what's widespread now. Across all educational institutions in Russia, technical schools, colleges, institutes, universities, there's strong campaigning to join the ranks of UAV operators. So maybe you went under this program? And what's new this year? Back to the future.
I got a bit confused. On December 3rd, 2024, I went on conscription. And in 2025, on April 8th, I signed the contract.
December 24th, basically, well, the end of the year, they send you from. Did you finish your first year?
Yes.
And went to the second?
Yes.
And from the second year, just during the academic year?
I went on conscription.
On conscription. If you hadn't gone, what would have happened?
My friends told me, you can forget about the trip. I was like, no, I need to go to the army so that they don't hassle me from Gaitip later.
Got it, okay. You went on conscription in December. Where did you go?
To Rostov-on-Don, the city of Novocherkassk, the 150th Motorized Rifle Division.
150th Motorized Rifle Division. What happened during conscription there?
Regular standard conscription. Parade ground in the morning. Marching. Lunch. Well, everything as usual.
How long did you serve there?
4 months, until April.
What happened in April?
I was supposed to go to Crimea, on conscription.
Why?
To guard the border.
It was said that conscripts no longer guard the border.
They do. Conscripts are still stationed both in Crimea and in Kursk. And in Belgorod, conscripts too.
My favorite Akhmat. Lokhmachai. You can't stand behind conscripts, together with FSB officers. That's at least not pretty. No, it's beautiful. Lomache and in front are conscripts, then the FSB, and
It's
then
safe.
Lomache.
The most important thing is that it's safe.
So, did you go to Crimea?
No, I didn't go. We were already undergoing training, just like contract soldiers. He was supposed to be in training for a month.
Did you sign a contract?
No, not then. No, we just had conscript training in case we needed to be on the border and if we were able to handle it.
If RDK comes in again.
Yes. That's it. And that's all. An uncle arrived at the training ground asking who wants to go study to become officers, warrant officers. And I was already 4 months in the army thinking, well, why not go? I said, but I only finished 9 grades. What can I train for? He said, for warrant officer. I said, accelerated courses? He said, no, full courses, 3 years. I thought, well, I'll earn money, and the war will end in 3 years for sure.
So, is it true? Do they teach warrant officers for 3 years?
No.
Very strange.
They teach officers for 5 years, warrant officers for 3 years.
I'm just curious. Where exactly?
He said, everything will be fine. At first, I submitted documents to become a warrant officer, so I could go study. It was the Mikhailovskaya Artillery Academy in St. Petersburg. They told me there, yes, we're expecting you. After that, I signed the contract on April 8th, waited another 4 months until June 6th. No, until the end of May. Then I left for St. Petersburg. I arrived there, and that year, Belousov issued an order stating that you can only study to become a warrant officer after completing secondary education. And I only finished 10 grades. And they told me, well, they fought for me for 2 days and said, well, that's it, like, leave, sorry, yes. Returned back to the unit.
The training period for a warrant officer in Russia usually ranges from 1 year to 2 years and 10 months. Так и говорили?
Да.
Training takes place in warrant officer schools or military educational institutions in higher education institutions, where cadets receive secondary professional education, a technical specialty, and a rank upon graduation. Terms: the most common term is 2 years and 10 months, which corresponds to a diploma in secondary vocational education. So, as far as I understand, there was a one-time campaign for conscripts when guys came and said who wanted to become warrant officers to avoid fighting. How many from your unit went to become warrant officers?
6 people.
And in the end, all of them.
Ended up in the special military operation.
Damn, that can't be true.
Now imagine, if there are, for example, 800, how many communist units are there in Russia?
I can't even imagine.
So basically, if we take, say, 500 military units, though I think there are more.
Definitely.
100% more. But let's say 1,000. And if we hold such a competition twice a year, for those who want to become warrant officers, and take 5 people from each unit, then suddenly you have 5,000 people, then another 5,000 people.
Well, well.
They came up with a cool campaign.
Russian ingenuity.
Military.
Well, after that, I went back to the unit. I arrive. The sergeant comes up and asks, will you go to the special military operation? I said, no, I'd go to prison. He says, no, you'll go to the special military operation.
So there's no choice?
No choice, yeah. In the end, I went to the special military operation.
As a conscript?
As a contract soldier, like I said. Oh, for example, signed the contract and went
when
for
you
training.
move from being a conscript to a warrant officer, you sign a contract and then they tell you that for the contract you need higher education. But you're already a contract soldier, so you can't become a conscript again.
What to do then?
Like I said, it's a scheme. Twice a year. Considering the draft is endless now. You could show up every 2 months and just scoop up conscripts.
Brilliant. Logic. Yeah, no. Tak.
So I went to the special military operation on June 6th.
Okay, let's go over the dates again. When did you start as a conscript?
December 3rd.
And don't tap, because we have only one microphone.
December 3rd.
On December 3rd, 2025, you started your conscription.
2024.
2024, that's right. When did you go to study as a warrant officer?
Around May 26th, 2025.
May 25th, roughly 5 months later you went to study, although your conscription lasts how long? 12 months, right?
Yes.
When did they send you back from warrant officer school?
I literally stayed there for 2 days.
Well, almost.
You came back and left again, but this time with a signed contract?
Yes.
Cool, neat. When did you return to the unit?
End of May.
I arrived on May 30th in the
30 Tell us in as much detail and interest as possible. How did your commander persuade you to go to the special military
Honestly,
operation?
there's nothing interesting about it. I just went up to him and he says, "Will you go to the special military operation?" I said no. He says, "What are you planning to do?" I said, "I'd rather go to prison." I said I'd write a refusal. He goes like, "We'll send you to the rear, not a unit, but a support division. And you'll be sitting there doing nothing."
Yeah, totally.
From the mess divisions, it's easier to surrender straight into captivity.
Well, I said, if that's the case, then let's go.
Did you buy it?
Well, that's what I did. I went to the special military operation and pretty much stayed there until the end of summer, even into late September.
Oh, so you spent the summer there?
Yes. So on September 27th was my birthday, and on September 28th, the order comes that I'm assigned to the infantry.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
What did you do in the rear when you were there?
I sat in Avdiivka, just on the radio.
Just on the radio? Were you already getting a salary of 200,000?
Yes. So I arrived in the battalion. They first wanted to make me an assault soldier, but because I was young, they made me a pilot of unmanned systems and drones, and that was their fatal mistake.
Why do you say mistake? Let's call everything by its name. There was no mistake. Money from the Apostol works.
They got to the right place, so they made him a drone operator.
What's the name of the commander who made you an operator?
Ajak,
Ajak, I didn't transfer the last 2 salaries to you as agreed.
Thanks, friend.
250,000 of yours. I know you'll be watching this video.
Next guys, as agreed, through Dima and the RDK, will work according to this scheme.
Just please, provide internet immediately. Because the Starlinks failed, my nerves have added gray hairs right here. Alright, we made a fatal mistake. Hold on, stop. I remember when we were driving. You were telling me how it happened, how they asked you what you could do, and how you asked me.
can you fly a UAV? I said, yes, I can. But I had never flown before. Not on beacons, not on anything. He said, well, we'll check tomorrow, we'll go to the range. We went to the range. I said, I don't remember how to start it. He showed me once, and well, I took off. By the way, it went fine.
For the first time.
For the first time, yes.
For the first and only time.
He said, now it will be a drone operator.
It's a tough selection process. They assess suitability and professional skills. Commanders go through personal files in detail. And that's how they select people. Is it AJAC or what? AJAC. Next. Which unit did you end up in again?
In the second, it's the rifle battalion of the 102nd Regiment.
Okay, so you became a pilot, a drone operator, on beacons.
I flew not just on Mavics, but on almost all the drones. Chappies, Autels, on everything, basically.
What's a chappie?
It's like an Autel, just called Chappie. It's exactly like an Autel, same features, a night drone, just called Chappie.
Alright, what happened next?
That's it. Then came the first task, a month at the range in the first task.
What at the range?
At the range, we just flew, that's all. I got a trainee with a discount, grenades, everything, different ammunition, drones. I tried flying FPV a couple of times and then we were sent on a mission.
You don't fly FPV?
I can, but not very professionally.
When did your first assignment begin? And what needed to be done there? Was there any direction?
At first we entered Vladimirovka, tried
To get in with the 102nd Regiment? When did you move to position?
that was around October 6th.
Got it. Okay, go on.
So we moved to the position on October 6th. At that time, Vladimirovka was still not liberated.
Here.
And that's it. There were already 2 of our units stationed from our battalion. My task was to go further than them, although we were told we'd stay put, but we went further. We dug in there, and they told us pack up and move to the right side, meaning we're going to Sofievka. This all took until November. I stayed in the forest until November, in the Sofievka direction. There's a forest there. Stayed there, then I came out to the Apostles. I said I want to work, and
Hold on a second. Alright, look. For those who don't know, this is the Sofievka and Vladimirovka agglomeration, and it was essentially a key point where they were supposed to infiltrate where? According to the map. For those who don't understand, they were supposed to close from below and create a cauldron, which has been talked about for 3 years, that we will now encircle 158 million soldiers of the Ukrainian Defense Forces in an operational cauldron. He contacted I want to live, and somewhere here a nanotechnology caption appears. I want to live. He gave me his contact and we got in touch. He wrote to me, and I wrote to him from different contacts. What did we start doing?
I was saying where the infantry is now. I discussed where the UAV points are, where our tanks are stationed, where our mortar is.
How long did we communicate?
About 4 months.
We talked for
80 days.
80 days. We were in touch with him virtually 24/7. Not, of course, I'm not doing this alone. I have my colleagues who help me. I'm passing it to a colleague whose name starts with Sanya. Hello, but don't tell anyone his name. Did I mention name? This is what working on my program is like. Now, there's a new trend. Pointless local assaults by the Russian army. And people who want to survive reach out to me. I have the opportunity to connect with the military. Again, this is military information. I contact GUR, and GUR gives me contacts. Connections are established there, and information is transmitted practically 24/7, non-stop, without breaks, back and forth. Now I guess there will be some editing, so it won't take long. Now you have it either instead of the commander or full screen. I don't know, critic, you'll see how it will be. Do you think? Well, I don't have those kinds of gadgets like in RDK Media.
I do it like this and bam, it rises from my hand.
They feed you well there. Well, do they add something to it?
On holidays.
Look, you've always asked how my program works, how it happens technically. Critic now, well, either we'll all disappear and you'll see, or they'll somehow replace me. So now there's a screen recording going on, and I'm scrolling. There's Artyom, who provides. I'm showing this to the commander, so that he gives direction on where it will move, what will move. He sent this over. Have you seen a passport like that? This is November 16th. Some interesting buildings. Oh, cool. He also gave the designation of the Mavics. What do you have there? Tell me.
Friend foe?
Friend foe?
Yeah, that's funny. Name?
Yes, and how it happens technically. I was given the contact of the head of intelligence of one of our brigades. He was always providing, and I was in contact with him, along with my assistant, partner, companion, comrade. We were in contact with him, so I'm telling you now, and it's scrolling somewhere on your screen. Artyom was providing information on where they would go, who would go, how many would go. In real time, with a delay of just 10 to 15 minutes, I was relaying this information to the head of intelligence. The brigade's head of intelligence received this information. Here are the routes, the designations. I was relaying this information. So these are circles. Oh, it's showing the dugout. How long did you live here?
4 months.
4 months. What was the temperature there?
In winter, it was -30.
What was that little pancake?
As I understood later, they told me it was for storing fuel for tractors.
They stored fuel for tractors. But now they're watching everything. I hope people see this. Yes, so the information is transmitted directly to those who are in this information. I don't remember what I wrote down for you about the circle.
Maybe with prisoners?
Oh, yes. I was interviewing, and he was providing information. My friend, with whom we, frankly speaking, was in contact, couldn't respond, was busy. I'm communicating, conducting interviews. I received information, gave it to the head of intelligence. That's your answer right in the thread. Why so many phones are on my table? Because different people are writing. Oh, look, a top view. Pancake?
Tell me, please, when you were filming in the dugout or your comrades, weren't you afraid someone would see or ask you what you were doing?
No.
Why?
They're stupid.
Stupid.
Remember that time I yelled at you? What was it for?
That I wanted to leave?
No, that was another moment. When he had a transit point. And types, well, assault troops, who were senseless, came to him. Tell us about the contingent.
Well, at first, in September, when I arrived, there was still a more or less decent contingent, people up to 40 years old. Well, there were, of course, drug addicts, alcoholics, but they were about 10 to 7%. And then, as the regiment started to wear out, people over 50 started coming, and it was clear who was from prison, who was a drug addict, and you could tell they were on some heavy stuff, something serious. Alcoholics, that's it, no more normal ones.
So what's the deal? What was flying there?
FPV.
Our FPV flew on optics. And you flew, killed our FPV. You clipped it, messed up the FPV basically. Interestingly, the intelligence chief didn't know about this method, how they disrupt. They adopted it. So, look, it's only December 25th. So, this correspondence is basically endless. Oh, I was scolding you because the infantry kept pouring in and they started putting on ponchos. And he just takes and removes them like that, bluntly. I write to him, why are you doing this? Why are you exposing yourself? And he just writes back here, they're dumb. Critic, the top.
They didn't even ask you a question. What's happening? Why are you filming us?
I'll say more. When they sent me a radio from Baba Yaga, those were Motorola's. I've never used Motorola's.
We'll get to that now. I'm getting there now. When was the first time for you? I want to find it.
It was in December, if not January.
In general, we worked with him for about a month and a half, so consider November, December. You see the amount of correspondence, various photos. The time comes to extract him. The situation was such that due to his actions, their battalions were depleted. And he says it's time to pull out. I tell the intelligence chief, let's get him out. He is preparing. What did they prepare for you?
Uniform, energy bars, and tape with a radio.
Why did you ask for energy bars?
I had food.
Yes, why wasn't there food?
Because the walkers were being killed.
Basically, he writes to me, can we not kill the walkers? I say, what's going on? He says, we're starving.
So, our man is suffering from our own actions?
Oh, here's the moment when the guys put on the outfits. In a poncho.
You're just filming in the cold.
Yes?
I called the intelligence chief. Their uniform was their own green. He would have been caught. In the end, the intelligence chief determines the drop point. It was near the pipe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes, yes.
We determine the drop point, and what comes in the first package to you?
Just a uniform, tape, and a white camo suit.
They sent a multicam uniform, tapes, 3 types of tape, yellow, red.
No, yellow, green.
Yellow, blue, green. Why? Because the abbreviation was supposed to change. according to the plan. The tape was supposed to change, and during the extraction, there shouldn't be a radio, mobile phone, SIM cards,
Yes, definitely the phone.
pants, a warm jacket, radio, sneakers.
That was in the second one already. In the first one, they sent me a uniform, meaning a jacket, pants, phone, and radio with tape. And the second time, they dropped me pants, sneakers, and tape with a radio.
The phone
You were always with me.
Oh, he threw away his phone, but kept ours because it's cooler.
The Ukrainian one is more reliable.
So, they drop him. This first package. What went wrong, and why didn't you get out the first time?
We were pulled back because of the weather. I retreated to where the Ukrainian armed forces were stationed, again, because of the weather, and I would have been basically finished off there. And then there was an order for us to pull back ourselves.
And you were supposed to go somewhere in January.
I was supposed to go on vacation in January.
Why do I remember this, and you don't?
Bro, I was supposed to go on vacation on January 16th.
Where would you have gone?
Home to Novosibirsk. Well, something didn't work out. No one let me go on vacation the second time, nor the first, and I returned to my position. I stayed in Avdiivka for 2 days and then returned to my position.
Well, that was the entire vacation.
That's it. Moving on. The same planned work. They sent me a package. And that's it. And then the Starlink basically shut down too. I was sitting in the dugout. It was a Tuesday. No, yes, it was a Tuesday, I think. It was 8:36. I remember I was sitting and the Starlink just shuts down. I think, well, it happens. Sometimes it just reboots. Then later at night, I realized it's not rebooting.
Tell me, please, how important was Starlink or the combination of Starlink and Telegram for the Russian Armed Forces personnel?
Our interaction was 100% through Starlink. So artillery guys were watching birdwatcher streams. FPV operators were watching UAV operators streams. Everything was interconnected like that. And then when it all got shut off, everything started falling apart. So, for instance, at that moment when they exposed people, there was one intelligence officer with whom I led people through video. They got exposed. Back then, the internet was still working. They were hit with everything possible. And then when the internet was turned off, it was as if everyone just forgot about them.
What do you think? How has and possibly will the disconnection of Starlink affect the Russian army?
It will be fatal. That is, if there is a replacement now, it is very unstable and of poor quality. It's called a burdock.
That's big. Tell us what it is.
Well, it's an antenna. It has this shape, and in the middle it has an antenna like this. It's about this size at most, and it points towards the rear, where there's a huge, even larger antenna that essentially transmits the signal. And there's weak internet, basically that's all, and it might not work.
You used to see that wild correspondence on the screen all the time. Was this the first package?
This is the first package.
The first package arrived. They dropped a whole bundle. Tell us in short about the emotions when the package arrived. I was supposed to send you some kind of anti-tank mine, ideally.
I'm standing at the exit, listening. A vampire is flying. Everything's buzzing above me, I think, like this. Bomb or no bomb. I think, well, if they wanted to kill, they would have done it already. Or maybe they do want to kill now. In the end, they dropped the package, and I thought, well, they didn't kill me this time. You have the uniform there?
Not this time. You see the time, he writes. 0038 at home. That means he hit the pancake. Lists. Green tape plus, yellow tape plus, radio plus, phone plus. There was also a camouflaged suit.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Uniform, check. The first time there was no food for you. The food came later. Then, the following happens. Considering that, with Artyom's help, the entire battalion was killed. Greetings to the commander.
Especially the ones who got killed.
Especially the dead ones. Tell us about your commander. This is a very interesting story because it's here in the correspondence. Give a description of him.
Well, overall he looks big, seems bulky. In fact, like all other commanders, just sending people to slaughter. If it didn't work here, Send another pair, maybe they'll make it, maybe the pair will make it through. The pair didn't get through here, so they said, let's just send him straight through all the fields like a postcard, just like that, take him into Sofivka, and next time we'll do the same. In short, they were really surprised that they'd take one route and I'd take them out, then they'd try to send someone else across the fields, and I'd take him out immediately. In one day, they changed 4 routes, and still, everyone got killed. They were like, what is this? How is this happening? They say like, well, maybe they're listening to the radios. That's it, they started marking.
By the way, the radios were being listened to. Now you see on the screen, it disappears there from time to time. What hit you?
FPV.
Yes, this is the key direction. Sofievka, one of the key directions where they aim to achieve operational encirclement at any cost. So they just kept sending people there non-stop. There. In turn, I must tell this. It's called all the armies of the world there. There were the SBU, Azov, who later wanted to kill him. Azov, the armed forces of Ukraine, and the National Guard. That is, all the armies of the world were there. And it's practically impossible to agree with everyone. Not to fly there, not to kill.
Dima, your publishers know that nothing is impossible for you.
We see the result. And there are also newcomers who fly into the sector and are like, we'll fly here, help out, kill. They're not concerned about various forms of history there. That's why I did everything I could. There were really moments when they wanted to kill him, then silence. They didn't kill, then they just sent him there to avoid arousing suspicion. So everything wouldn't be. Look, 4 UAV crews were killed, 4 mortar crews, Chinese MLRS. It was visible in the video.
2 tanks?
There were 2 tanks. That was during the pullback. So when they first dropped supplies for him, it was during the retreat. The commander, this butcher, decided to retreat. How many of your people were falling back, and how many actually made it?
We were falling back in pairs, but not everyone got out.
Well, how many didn't?
About 4 people couldn't fall back.
When he was pulling back, I asked, and stuff was still flying around, just as much as before. Where did you put all the extra stuff they dropped for you?
Well, the tape and the uniform, I put on the uniform, left the tape in that basement there. I threw the radio into the lake and put the SIM cards in my shoe.
Didn't anyone say anything to you about how you suddenly showed up with a brand new uniform in the dugout after 3 months?
No, they didn't say anything at all.
So it wasn't suspicious at all?
Well, whatever.
So everyone's all dirty and suddenly this guy goes to sleep and wakes up in a new multicam uniform.
His mom sent something maybe from Novosibirsk to him.
To go to the store?
Of course.
Military surplus store, right?
Why such indifference from their side, do you think? Is it because they're just dumb people or because no one cares?
Probably because I pretended to be very dumb, just to detach. But that's not all. Here's another thought. The young one is very
I think
strong.
you're just young.
A dumb little kid.
Well, gentlemen, you greatly underestimated your comrade, if you are still alive.
The chief of intelligence balanced. The so-called PNR, according to his statistics, there were 52 or 54 confirmed, with known call signs and coordinates, where the dead were, all in 80 days of work. Along with the routes he provided, because how many flight hours did you accumulate in total?
1,200.
1,200 hours. And we calculated it, it's really true. He has a freaking 1,200 flight hours. And what's the point? He provided route coordinates when his shift ended. Tell us how you flew, in what condition. I mean, considering the temperature of -30.
I would crawl into a sleeping bag, cover myself, and fly like that.
Were there no solutions for improving the heating?
Well, how would you warm up there? Everything might glow.
So you didn't have a generator there?
We had a generator.
Any heaters?
They always glowed, and that was a problem. They wanted to destroy their dugout a long time ago, but it was hard to do. And when that hole formed at the top, which is in the photos, maybe I'll find it, they wanted to drop anti-tank mines there to finish everyone off. But then Atlant showed up. That was your old call sign. They listened to him. I have recordings of him. Well, how our guys listened. Yeah, like their dugout was glowing, and everyone was told not to go there. For a while, it worked to not go there, but you can't tell the Allies why they shouldn't fly there. And that's how it happened.
So why did they still come?
They flew in. Occasionally, there were intruders. Did the GRU guys come to your dugout? Was that the second time after they rolled you back?
Yes.
So, he retreated, and for some reason, I remember his story better than he does. He spent 3 days at the training ground. Well, 2 days, and then they rolled them back. During the retreat, he tore his pants. So that's why he ended up rolling back in the jacket that was dropped, and his green pixel camo pants. They were supposed to roll into Vladimirovka initially, but ended up at the old dugout. Replaying this story again, the drop anew. The second drop, they started to heavily disrupt logistics. And when he was rolling out, he drew 2 tanks. There will be an insert showing the tanks burning. When you get a third one, let me know and I'll drop it for you. He sketched the tanks, and we realized we had to leave because it was too exposed. The intelligence chief cornet was dropped for him a second time. A package, pants, Snickers. But why did they send you Snickers?
So I could eat them if I needed to stop anywhere.
Because his route was 15 kilometers. And the idea was that he would have to walk it for a long, very long time. But you had 10 Snickers bars. What did you do with them?
I ate them on the second day.
And you hadn't even gone anywhere yet. He just ate them in the dugout. The head.
Yeah, they just fly over there.
Like cracking sunflower seeds.
Just straight into the furnace. Basically, they were sent with him in case he had to leave.
For 15 kilometers.
For 15 kilometers. If he had to, wait a day or two for the weather, hide out somewhere.
Quickly lay low.
Like Snickers. He just gobbled them up right away. The Snickers were without packaging, because our flag is on all the wrappers. Tell us about the GRU guys. It's a funny story.
Anyway, rolled in and in our
basement. And just like that, kind of found it. GRU guys burst in, with rifles like this. Well, that's standard for GRU. Dressed like that. Now tell how.
We had a curtain hanging like this, and we'd go behind it to use the toilet. They pulled the curtain aside, and there are 2 guys sitting with green duct tape. I'm like, who are you? They just go, nobody. And then they left. Later I write, thinking your guys came here. He says, that's impossible. Turns out there were GRU guys dressed up as Ukrainian soldiers.
It wasn't quite like that, as always. He says, your guys came, so let them take me on the way back.
Yeah, they would have taken him.
I'm like, wait, hold on, what do you mean, Oz? He says, well, armed guys came in with green tape, NATO machine guns, rifles. So I'm like, bam, special forces, click, 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 what we talked about doesn't matter. I signal to him like, no dude, that's not us, don't signal that you're one of us. Imagine if you had told them. Tell how it turned out they were special forces, it's a military secret.
The battalion commander told me.
Listen, the battalion commander is a great guy. How much he helps us.
So why were the GRU guys pulling back?
Seems like they were all killed there.
In short, the special forces came in, got beaten up, and retreated. They tried to do a sabotage mission, but it didn't work out for them.
Guys, I'm one of you.
By the way, there was this funny thing. Almost in Ukrainian, right? Someone was speaking.
Oh yeah, the second guy was speaking with a Ukrainian accent. I was still thinking, well, definitely.
Imagine if you had said, Guys, so what do you think of me? Did I do a good job?
And this? Oh, this is a cool photo, by the way. By the way, yes, this is Atlant,
Yeah, and these are his classmates?
citizens of the Russian Federation.
I see Aryazan guys.
Ryazan?
Of course.
White teeth, right?
Yes, yes.
What kind of guys are these?
Yeah, these guys are stormtroopers. They brought them in. So this one's an Indian.
African American partners.
They recruited an African American partner, and on the right, they recruited an Arab partner. And that's it. They got me in the basement, then in the forest, they made a burrow.
What were they doing?
Digging a burrow in the forest.
Were they speaking pure Russian?
No, I was communicating with them through a translator. They didn't speak Russian at all.
That's good. Yeah, so the special forces left. They dropped a radio. The radio was an alternative communication. You still had SIM cards. The route was agreed and discussed. And basically, Tuesday comes, when all the Starlinks fail. As you can see, the critic occasionally turns on the correspondence, meaning it's non-stop correspondence day and night, even on January 1st and all that, so it's endlessly flowing. But the text here is nuts.
Yeah, I see.
I'm still scrolling through it. And this moment, tell the moment, for which I also scolded.
Oh, that means an officer always sat like this in front of a laptop with us. I came up, took a photo and sent it.
A guy. They were looking for the guys who came in, and he didn't have the coordinates. So the officer's sitting with his laptop. He comes up and just snaps a shot. What does the officer say?
He doesn't say anything.
No, there was something.
That's about another case.
Let's talk about another case.
About another case. It's like how we're sitting now. An officer is sitting like this with a laptop, and I'm flying around, and like I take a picture, send it to Dima, and he's like, "What's this?" I say, "This is added to favorites, so as not to forget."
And that was enough.
And that was enough.
Russian officers, I bow to your irresponsibility.
Don't change your strategy and tactics. As you can see the scrolling on the screen, this is January 25th for us. When did everything happen? And how did it all happen? Let's pick up from the moment the Starlinks dropped out.
That was at 8:36, Moscow time. That was, I remember now.
With the weather, he started sensing betrayal, already in its purest form. Yeah, harsh. Tell the commander so he knows what to expect from you.
That's when I say to them, "We have to leave, we can't wait any longer." And the Apostle says, "No, wait.
Why did you say we should leave?
Well, because it was just too risky to stay there. Everyone already thought something was wrong.
How did it show?
Checking phones. Started checking people.
Here are the routes.
Yeah, this is my route. Who's leaking what?
At what point did they start noticing that too much information was leaking?
Yeah, that was around the end, a month before I left.
So what did they notice? That they were hitting logistics, hitting people.
They started targeting people, like they began leading people by different routes, and they thought, there's no way it's just a coincidence. He left and immediately got hit on another route.
And they started to get suspicious that...
Yeah, first the communications guys, then the birdmen, then someone else, and then someone else, basically. But in the end, they didn't find anyone.
Was there a moment when you realized they could just grab your phone?
Yeah, that was when Fisarevich and the Yakuza were around, and he says maybe you'll get handed over to counterintelligence. I'm sitting there thinking, no way, what am I even working on?
How did you feel about that?
Not fear. Mostly disappointment. Like, if I get exposed now, that's it. Worked for nothing. Well, not for nothing, but I didn't see it through to the end.
So, January 29th, by then, he'd been getting heat from time to time already. So, today the weather was like, literally all the armies in the world were flying. And then, it was foggy, and I was going to head out. I was about to go. Head of intelligence says, don't go out. It'll be bad. There's no fog, then there is. You know, back and forth. I calmed him down. On the 8th, the Starlink...
Well, that's it.
How do you feel?
Feelings. At first, when it didn't turn on, I thought, well, what to do? Then I remembered I have a walkie-talkie. So, let's switch to the walkie-talkie. The radio, I was sitting in a low area, they were up high. Well, it doesn't reach, basically. They can hear me, I can't hear them, as it turned out. On the second day, I started climbing higher, went up here and there. In the end, I managed to connect with them. I asked, what's the weather going to be like from Saturday to Sunday? They said this and that fog, basically. So I go down, wait for Sunday at the ready and say, okay, I can go. They tell me, yes, you can go. So I'm like, all right, I'm going. I had flown the route with a drone, thought it didn't look too difficult. As soon as I leave the bunker and head left, cross the grove, I find myself in these apple orchards, and I realize I have no idea where to go. I had mapped it out on my phone too, this exact route. It turned out they switched on the electronic warfare, so my phone stopped working. So I just keep going by memory. I needed to go straight. But at the time, with the fog, nothing was visible, it was night. I veered left and ended up at the crossing where bikers come. The whole place was mined. Bells, magnets, tripwires just lying around everywhere. So I think I raised the phone and walkie-talkie higher and just start waltzing, avoiding the mines. Once I crossed, I kept going. The guys told me to keep going straight. I went straight, geolocation turned on, thank God, and I kept following it. And then, right at that moment, my radio cut out. I walked into a low spot, my geolocation stopped working, so I had to keep going by memory. So, straight ahead, I go using landmarks. Probably right, now. The landmark isn't clear. So I decide to go right. Then I see a river ahead. I think, I'll follow the river anyway. In the end, instead of 13 kilometers, I walked through all the minefields there.
Checking if everything was in place.
I walked 20 kilometers in 8 hours, all in all, and got tangled up in this mess. Sitting there thinking, that's it.
We made it.
Yeah, just as I left, I even heard Baba Yaga flying, thought we were done for.
By the way, Baba Yaga was from Azov, just for the record. She was supposed to escort him, but he kept running away from her. She kept flying after him. It wasn't clear. The phone came in handy too. You called once.
Yes, they called me once on the phone.
Called when there was no connection. The head of intelligence, Cornet. Yeah, exactly. Quiet. We discussed this before the interview. Yes, the phone was useful. The SIM card was useful. The radio was useful. As you go, there was a funny ending. Well, not exactly funny.
Overall, the route wasn't quite right. I needed to get to Minograd, but my route ended at Krasny Kut. I said, I'm at Krasny Kut, and they told me to go forward 10 minutes and give the coordinates. I walked forward for 10 minutes, gave the coordinates, and they told me to go back to the start. I went back to the start, stood there waiting, and asked, do you hear a car? No. Eventually, they arrived in Mirnograd on this street, and it turned out there was a green garage and a wooden house just like there. Everything looked exactly the same. Somehow we found each other. I said, I'm in Mirnograd. I arrive in Mirnograd, and the scouts picked me up. And there stood an Azov member saying, I'll give 20,000 hryvnias to take him out right here.
What did the scouts arrive in? In a pickup?
In a car, a pickup.
They came in a car. And I've heard this story from both sides. He left out parts of the story again, I don't know why. He's walking, a car pulls up, and somehow an Azov member appears. I know why Azov was there and what they were doing. Oh. Let's skip that part. And there, an Azov member actually offered our scouts 20,000 to kill him right then. So what did they say?
They said, no, he's our agent.
Our agent?
In reality, this is already our agent.
Well, something like that. Where's the flag?
I see some flag lying there. What did you feel when you realized you were being greeted normally?
I was really surprised why I was traveling in handcuffs.
That's such an epic fail. There's gonna be a photo here where he's sitting like this in handcuffs. So before that, they brought him to a safe house. They brought him there in handcuffs, and the guys left. Cornet sends a photo like this. Oh, he's calling me by voice. It was Sunday morning. He was signaling at night through stories, signaling everything's with me, sends a photo. I send the photo further, and I see him in handcuffs asking why he's sitting in bracelets. Well, as always, they locked the bracelets and left with the keys.
Welcome to Ukraine.
Welcome to Ukraine. How long were you in handcuffs?
About 2 hours, no more.
So basically they slapped handcuffs on him and drove off with the handcuffs.
With the keys.
With the keys to the handcuffs. What did they feed you?
Borscht, I think. I had soup and I had balashi. So basically the cornet bought me Snickers and the Coke.
Oh, tell me about the store.
Oh, I went to the store. I was in pixel camo by then because my uniform was wet. I enter the store and the cornet says, "This is not our fighter." And the saleswoman says, "That's our agent. He helped us kill Russians." And she's like, "Really? That happens?"
Yes. The command of the unit spoke with him.
Here, probably only on Ukraine, did a general shake his hand, actually.
First of all, it's in Ukraine, remember? But still, why not? Not bad. At 19, a whole general shakes your hand. Nice one.
Yes, he met with the general. I don't know which one. I've always wanted to ask.
What did you feel when a whole general shook your hand? And probably thanked you for what you did?
I was like, it's fine, I wasn't wrong. I did everything right.
That's it, good job.
Tell me, why did you? So, to sum it up, yes, a brief summary of statistics kept by the intelligence chief, and then the balance was disrupted. 2 MLRS Type 3 tanks, this Korean, North Korean junk, 4 UAV teams, 4 mortar teams, overall 150 to 200, 50 to 300, plus our soldiers who were saved when he gave the coordinates of incoming fire, and their intelligence chief moved them, our teams. I don't remember how many times it was, but generally the people who work with me, besides helping our defense forces in destroying positions, also report what they find and where they will work. There are other stories. When I inform the intelligence chief where to remove people from, our people are removed, and then bombs, missiles, everything possible starts coming there. So the numbers I mentioned, the HQ gave me those. There's more or less photos, videos, because there's a video report on almost everything he provided. Why did you decide to do this instead of dying for the Russian army?
I don't want to die as an occupier. Simply because, first of all, I don't want to die as an occupier, and secondly, because I know what the Russian army is doing is wrong.
Look, during our preliminary conversation, there was a moment when you said that when this war started, you were of different views, different beliefs. You were a young guy, convinced of Putin's righteousness and the fidelity of the operation.
Yes.
At what point did that change?
When I watched films, when I saw footage over 2 years, like a missile hitting the cultural center in Mariupol, I think. And when I later watched the documentary about Mariupol.
20 days in Mariupol, probably?
20 days in Mariupol, yes. And the documentary about Bucha, I watched that Radio Liberty one. After that, I was like, that's it. It's not like my eyes opened wide. The rose-tinted glasses came off.
Well, didn't you think that maybe before that it could also have been some enemy propaganda? We're liberating. Our guys couldn't do such things. Our boys in shorts. They don't kill anyone. Not civilians. Nothing like that. No.
No, there were facts. There was evidence. Here's the video. Where are they taking them? And then bodies are lying there. Well, who are they? They cut themselves open.
I see.
Well, I didn't have that.
Do you think this could work for everyone in Russia? Or are there people who don't care what you show or tell them?
They don't care.
Are there such people?
There are. Most people are like that.
So what to do with them?
Kill them.
I see. Do you think it's useless to re-educate them?
Of course. And only blood. People only understand blood.
Well, fear and violence. Your feelings that the Russian army is not a liberating army, when you actually got into the whole structure, were they confirmed?
They were confirmed.
Tell us something about it.
When officers told me how they tortured prisoners, how they killed civilians, raped them.
Who was telling this? You didn't tell such a thing.
I did. That they formed a Ukrainian soldier's backside.
Yes, it happened.
The officers we had. This is the first case of a foamed backside in this war in 5 years, at least from what I've heard in 4 years.
But there was no video, right?
No, there was no video.
Well, again, we're not making this up or fantasizing.
A Russian officer said he made it from a Ukrainian vehicle.
I understand, but I've seen videos of genital mutilation, beheading. I have a lot of those in my phone, all of that, but I've never seen foam.
So your commanders were talking about how they tortured prisoners and raped civilians?
Yes. They looted, well, that's already a given.
How does it look? What do they?
Well, they felt and still feel like heroes because of it. They find it very amusing, like they couldn't wipe the smile off their faces.
So I went in there, killed, raped, tore off a head, cut off ears. So they're boasting about this?
Yes, they boast.
Do they boast about this to each other?
They try to, in front of all of us.
What kind of officers are these? Where did this happen?
For me, it was in the 2nd Battalion.
You watched the videos, so I know these answers. Did you watch my videos?
Yes,
When did you start watching them?
since 2023.
Why did you start watching them? That was before the war, before you became a soldier.
Yes. Well, in 2023, I was just scrolling through YouTube, watching interviews with prisoners, thought it was interesting, one video, another, a third. By the 10th video, you start to think about what they're saying, and it just goes from there.
Didn't you think that this was all enemy Ukrainian propaganda, that they were forced to say it?
No, for some reason I never thought that, not even once.
You immediately understood that it was all real.
So, are you saying that what we do is effective?
It works, but not on everyone.
I have $26 left and I'll get a paid subscription to ChatGPT. I won't wash my hand now. For 3.5 weeks. It works, but what?
But not on everyone. It will most likely work on an audience my age. Well, a bit older, up to 24 years old, it will definitely work.
What are we doing wrong?
Everything's fine, it's just that people don't want it themselves.
No, I mean, look, you as a consumer of this content, especially from that side, maybe there's something missing in these conversations that needs to be added or changed to make them more effective.
No, nothing needs to change, it's just that when you watch a lot of them, they start to become boring because it's the same format.
Do you think I'm not tired of them?
Possible.
About RDK. Where did you find out? Did you watch Dennis?
I learned about RDC in 2022, also on YouTube, but at first I thought it was Russian troops.
Wait, you found out about RDC before you found out about me?
Yes.
Ha ha ha.
At first I thought they were Russian, and then I realized, well, they're sort of Russian.
Return the tablet here.
All right, Dim, why are you getting worked up right away? Actually, quite a lot of people, mostly foreigners, write to us because they see the word Russian in the name of our unit and think it's part of the Russian army. By the way, I don't know what to do with them. They write to us, all sorts of Indians, Pakistanis and others.
They want to join?
They want to join the Russian army and end up writing to the Russian Volunteer Corps.
Forward them to me. He's the one actually handling recruitment. Some Indian from India writes. He has a branch there. Some Arab writes from Egypt, from Cairo to me. And you, who write to RDK but aren't related, if you're not on topic, write to me.
Immediately.
Send your passports to... My program is working. In this case, it turns out I won't pay anyone, but it'll be interesting. Send them to me. This is our curator.
There is
Curator. So, am I your curator? What about RDK? I'm interested.
Well, it all started with me watching how they enter Belgorod. I watched and watched, then completely forgot about them, didn't see anything for about 2 years. So, I watched you, and I still really like watching Anti-Zombie.
Anti-zombie is a good topic. You know, right?
No, I just listen.
There are regular videos on YouTube where they take Russian propaganda and kind of make fun of it. Well, it's a cool topic.
Then, videos started appearing showing how the guys are training there. And I thought, well, I'll go there. So, even when I was still a civilian, I wanted to come to you, but I didn't know how to do it, so I tried twice. Not to the mayor's office, but to the district administration. I went, wrote a statement saying I wanted to sign a contract, but I didn't have the courage twice.
And you went in your district to sign a contract with the RDK?
No, not with the RDK, but with the RF to transfer later.
And how did you think you would defect?
The same way.
Reach out to someone from our side?
Yes.
Did you think you could end up in this position?
Yes.
I'm always genuinely interested in this question. So, a year ago, did you imagine you'd be sitting at a table giving an interview?
Maybe he didn't expect it, but he dreamed about it.
Dreamed, yes, but didn't imagine.
Was it really a dream?
In terms of goals, yes.
Friends, RDK, dreams come true. Direct evidence.
I want to add something from myself. The first link in the pinned comment is a link to the official RDK Telegram channel. Don't search for RDK, follow the link. It will also be written on the screen here. There are simpler and safer ways to join the RDK unit, bypassing capture, credit where it's due for the work done. This is what I said at the beginning, that through his actions he has fully proven all his intentions. He proved his sincerity. This answers the question of whether he is an agent of the FSB or the GRU GUGSH.
Wait, are you an FSB agent?
Yes.
Failed? That was the next episode.
Next. You do realize that after this conversation, my favorite unfavorite question is that they will call you a traitor there. Are you a traitor?
No.
Why?
For the authorities, yes. For Russia, no.
By the way, that's your topic.
Yes, absolutely right, because we don't equate the people of Russia, don't equate ourselves with the Russian government, and if there are officials in the government, military personnel, officers, some generals who started this war, for them, yes, of course, he is a traitor. Why? Because he didn't want to become cannon fodder in this adventure of theirs, which has been going on for 5 years with completely unclear goals. Tell me, please, what did your comrades say? What is the goal of this war anyway?
They don't know either. They fight because they're told to. And not just for the money, simply because they're told to. Honestly, I don't understand those people. You'd think, looking at a 30 to 40-year-old man, an adult, you'd find out where you're going. No, they still go to slaughter, die. In Sofiivka, when we were heading in the Sofiev direction, just so you understand, I never saw a person, even from other regiments and battalions, who fell back injured or simply retreated alive. Everyone died, not a single one survived.
Friends, if you don't want to die in mud, lawlessness and disgrace, first and foremost, join the Russian Volunteer Corps. I'll give an example. Artyom, this is an extreme story, but if it's your only option, then do it. If you have the opportunity to legally leave the Russian Federation, follow the information provided by Dmitry, and there will be all the instructions on how to join the RDK in a less dangerous, less exotic way.
Regarding disgrace, it's true. If you don't go on the assault, they'll beat you like a dog with sticks and you'll still go, just already beaten. You have no option to refuse. If you're already in the SO, you have no option to retreat. You're going to die anyway.
It's a fact as told by every single one. Not just every third, but every single one. In interviews, in my standard stories, interviews with prisoners of war. Write in the comments if you like the story or not. The military certainly liked it. The story is cool, the record hasn't been broken, but you'll have the opportunity to reach Lion's numbers because you'll continue to fly, as I understand. Lion on the radio. On the radio you will be, yes. Therefore, it's final. Artem's story is cool. Write in the comments. I'll make a note on why we didn't touch on the topic of parents. Because his parents are for the Tsar, they stayed there. They are for the Tsar and will most likely not understand what he did. But as we understand, his country let him down and he went to study full-time. I was sent to the army. I went to study to become a warrant officer. He became a contract soldier. They told me I'd be stationed in the rear. I ended up on the front lines. Is it all lies? It's all lies. Plus, I got interested in politics in 2022, unlike others. I've been watching, so that's why. Maybe you have a question for the commander.
No, not really.
I have a question.
Could you give me a flag? I don't have an RDK flag at home. I have a lot of flags at home. Please.
I don't know why they are lying here.
This is the first time I came not empty-handed. But I saw you could probably snag one somewhere else. Like subscribe, comment.